Top of the morning to ya laddies. My name is Stillion and welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving headfirst into a topic that gets my little gamer heart absolutely pounding with excitement. Retro FPS games that are practically begging for a glorious high-definition 2025 remake. We're talking about the classics, the legends, the games that walked so that modern shooters could run. These aren't just old pixels on a screen. They're the foundation of everything we love about the genre today. They had personality, they had grit, and man, did they have some of the most creative ideas I've ever seen. Nostalgia is a powerful thing, isn't it? It's like a warm, fuzzy blanket made of memories of late nights, CRTs humming, and the satisfying click of a mouse button. But this isn't just about looking back with rose-tinted glasses. These games still matter because their core gameplay loops, their atmosphere, and their sheer, unadulterated fun are timeless. Imagine those incredible concepts brought to life with modern graphics, physics, and quality-of-life improvements. It would be absolutely mind-blowing. We're talking ray-traced jibs, people. The possibilities are endless, and it's a crime that some of these gems have been left gathering dust in the digital attic for so long. So get comfy, grab your favorite beverage, and get ready to take a trip down memory lane. I've got my personal list of 5 absolute bangers that I think are overdue for a modern makeover. But this is a conversation, not a lecture. I want to know what you think. As we go through my picks, be sure to start thinking about your own. What forgotten FPS classic do you dream of seeing remade? Get those keyboards ready and drop your favorites down in the comments below. I can't wait to see what you guys come up with. Let's get into it. Alright, let's kick this thing off with an absolute titan of the build engine era. A game so dark and so satisfyingly violent, it's a masterpiece. Blood. Oh my god, this game. We're not just talking about a simple horror shooter here. Blood was a whole vibe. You play as Caleb, an undead gunslinger back from the grave for revenge, and his one-liners are legendary. He's like a cross between Clint Eastwood and the Crypt Keeper, and it is glorious. The atmosphere is just dripping with this gothic, macabre horror that's part Evil Dead, part classic Universal monster movie. You're fighting axe-wielding zombies, robed cultists chanting in some demonic tongue, and spiders. So many giant, horrible spiders. It's pure, unfiltered nightmare fuel in the best possible way. But where Blood truly shines is in its arsenal. This isn't your standard pistol shotgun rifle snooze fest. Hell no! You've got a flare gun that sets enemies on fire, and they run around screaming until they explode into a charred mess. You have a voodoo doll that you literally stab with a pin to hurt enemies from a distance. How cool is that? You can even kick decapitated heads around like soccer balls and use dynamite with a ridiculously satisfying TNT plunger. A modern remake could take this creative weaponry and just go absolutely bonkers with it. Imagine the particle effects, the dynamic lighting from the flares, the visceral feedback of stabbing that doll. It gives me goosebumps just thinking about it. Picture this, the Funfair level, the House of Horrors, completely reimagined in Unreal Engine 5. The creepy carnival music echoing through the stalls, the dynamic shadows from the flickering lights, the jump scares feeling even more impactful. A remake could expand on the lore, maybe give Caleb more of a backstory, and lean even harder into that Western horror aesthetic. They could make the enemy AI smarter, more terrifying, making those cultists flank you and coordinate their attacks. Blood isn't just a game that could be remade. It's a game that deserves a modern resurrection. It's time for Caleb to live. Again. Next up, we're swapping our shotguns for magic staffs and stepping into a realm of pure, unadulterated dark fantasy. Let's talk about Hexen Beyond Heretic. While its predecessor, Heretic, was basically Doom with a fantasy skin, Hexen was something else entirely. It took that formula and said, what if we made it an RPG? What if we made it a sprawling, interconnected adventure? And the result was revolutionary for its time. You weren't just blasting your way through linear levels. You were exploring massive hub worlds, solving puzzles, and finding keys in one level to unlock doors in a completely different one. It was mind-bending. You got to choose between 3 distinct classes: the fighter, the cleric, and the mage. Each one had their own unique weapons, strengths, and weaknesses, which gave the game so much replayability. The fighter was a close-quarters brute, the cleric was a balanced mix of offense and defense, and the mage was your classic glass cannon, dishing out insane damage from a distance. This class-based system was way ahead of its time for an FPS, and it's a perfect foundation for a modern remake. Imagine a co-op Hexen remake, where you and 2 friends tackle these massive labyrinthine levels as the perfect fantasy trio. The potential for teamwork and coordinated magical chaos is just off the charts. The world of Hexen is just so bleak and oppressive, and a modern engine could really bring that vision to life. The crumbling castles, the frozen wastelands, the murky swamps filled with monsters, it's all begging for a fresh coat of paint. A remake could flesh out the story, make the puzzles even more intricate, and really lean into the RPG elements. Maybe add a skill tree for each class, or more gear to find and equip. Hexen was more than just a shooter. It was an experience, a dark and challenging adventure that respected the player's intelligence. It's high time we delved back into its cursed world. All right, let's fast forward a bit to 1998 and jack into the gritty cyberpunk world of Sin. This game was Duke Nukem's edgier, cooler cousin. You play as Colonel John Blade, what a name, leader of a private security force in the futuristic, crime-ridden city of Freeport. Your mission is to take down a brilliant but maniacal CEO, Alexis Sinclair, who's creating mutant monstrosities in her labs. The story felt like it was ripped straight out of a 90s action movie, and it was awesome. It had this Blade Runner meets Die Hard vibe that was just so incredibly cool and has aged surprisingly well. What made Sin so special, though, was its interactivity. This wasn't just a static world, it was a playground. You could shoot computer monitors and they'd spark and explode. You could shoot out windows. You could interact with keypads to hack security systems. There was a moment in an early level where you're on a moving train and you can shoot the couplings to detach the cars behind you. For 1998, that was absolutely insane. The game also had location-based damage, meaning a shot to the head was way more effective than a shot to the leg. It added a layer of tactical depth that many shooters at the time just didn't have. A 2025 remake of Sin could be the cyberpunk game we've all been dreaming of. Imagine Freeport City as a fully realized, sprawling open-world hub, like a more interactive Night City. The mission structure, which was already quite dynamic, could be expanded upon, with your actions having real consequences on the story. And Alexis Sinclair, she was such a compelling villain, a remake could give her character even more depth. With modern physics and destruction systems, that level of interactivity Sin pioneered could be pushed to its absolute limits. Sin was ambitious, maybe a little too ambitious for its time, but a modern remake could finally fulfill its incredible potential. Okay, let's take a huge tonal shift. From dark fantasy and gritty cyberpunk, we're heading down to the swamps of Arkansas for some good old boy action with Redneck Rampage. This game is just pure, unadulterated, hilarious chaos. You play as Leonard and his brother Bubba, 2 hicks whose prized pig Bessie has been abducted by aliens. So naturally, you grab your crowbar and your .45 and set off on a mission to get her back, blasting through hordes of alien invaders and brainwashed, inbred clones of your neighbors. It's as ridiculous as it sounds, and I love every single second of it. The humor is the star of the show here. Your health packs aren't medkits, they're pork rinds and cheap beer. When you drink too much, your vision gets blurry and your aim gets wobbly, which is both hilarious and an actual gameplay mechanic. The enemies are clones of townsfolk who shout things like, "Get off my land," and "I'm gonna getcha." The weapon selection is just as absurd. You've got a crossbow that fires dynamite, a sawed-off shotgun, and even a weaponized bra that shoots, well, you can imagine. It's lowbrow, it's silly, and it's not afraid to laugh at itself, which is something you don't see in many games today. A remake of Redneck Rampage would be the perfect antidote to all the super serious, self-important shooters out there. Imagine those sprawling rural levels, the drive-in theater, the sewage plant, the bowling alley, recreated with modern detail. They could lean even harder into the humor, with more ridiculous weapons, more bizarre enemies, and more laugh-out-loud dialogue. The co-op mode, where you could play as both Leonard and Bubba, would be an absolute blast with friends. In a world of gritty realism, sometimes you just want to drink some beer, eat some pork rinds, and shoot aliens with a crossbow. It's time to bring this hick-tastic classic back. Last, but certainly not least, we're blasting off to a galaxy far, far away. Before Jedi Knight, before Kyle Katarn ever picked up a lightsaber, there was Star Wars Dark Forces. This was the original Star Wars FPS, and man, was it a landmark title. It took the Doom formula and infused it with that iconic Star Wars magic. You play as Kyle Katarn, a mercenary for the Rebel Alliance, on a mission to stop the Empire's secret Dark Trooper project. It was the first time you could truly feel like you were the Star Wars universe, running through Imperial bases with a blaster in your hand. What set Dark Forces apart was its incredible level design and focus on story. These weren't just abstract arenas, they were believable places. You were infiltrating Imperial installations, navigating the sewers of a Noat city, and stealing the plans for the first Death Star. Yes, Kyle Katarn did it first. The levels were huge, multi-layered puzzles that required you to find keycards, activate switches, and navigate complex environments. And for the first time in a mainstream FPS, you could look up and down. It sounds simple now, but back then, it was a game changer that allowed for a new level of verticality and immersion. A full, modern remake of Dark Forces could be absolutely spectacular. Imagine those classic levels remade in Unreal Engine 5 with the lighting and sound design of the modern Star Wars films. Hearing the whine of a TIE fighter overhead, the snap hiss of a blaster bolt whizzing past your ear, the metallic stomp of a dark trooper rounding the corner. Chills. They could expand the story, give Kyle more character development leading into his Jedi Knight arc, and refine the gunplay to feel as weighty and satisfying as a modern shooter. Dark Forces laid the groundwork for so many great Star Wars games, and it deserves to be celebrated and brought to a new generation of players. And there you have it, laddies. That's my personal dream list of 5 retro FPS games that are screaming for a 2025 remake. From the gothic horror of Blood to the sci-fi adventure of Dark Forces, these games represent a golden age of creativity and pure, unadulterated fun. Remaking them wouldn't just be about cashing in on nostalgia. It would be about preserving gaming history and introducing these incredible concepts to a whole new audience. Imagine the possibilities. A whole new generation of gamers getting to experience the terror of a voodoo doll or the thrill of stealing the Death Star plans for the very first time. It would be absolutely magical. But that's just my 2 cents. The world of retro shooters is absolutely massive, and I know for a fact that I've missed some absolute gems. Now it's your turn. I want to see the comments section explode with your picks. What did I miss? Are you a die-hard fan of the original Unreal? Do you think a new Timesplitters is long overdue? Or maybe there's a more obscure classic like Shogo Mobile Armor Division that you think deserves the spotlight? Let me know what your dream retro FPS remake is and why. I'll be down there reading and replying to as many as I can. Thank you all so much for watching and for nerding out about old games with me today. If you had a good time, be sure to punch that like button right in the face, like a boss. And if you're new here and you want more trips down gaming's memory lane, consider subscribing and ringing that little bell so you don't miss a thing. It really helps out the channel more than you know. But for now, that's all from me. Thank you guys again, and I will see all you dudes in the next video.